For those of you listening, this is going to be like our 10th take. It's ridiculous. I have this unbelievable Canadian internet that just fails at every turn.
Hello and welcome. Today we have Curtis, the ISTJ. Hey, Curtis.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you, Michelle, for doing this. We just finished getting done a bunch of technical difficulties, so she's been very patient with me, and I'm eternally grateful.
Yeah, so like a typical ISTJ, he was like, I don't want to do anything I don't know about.
Exactly. Well, it was like 3 different things I had to figure out, and I was like,
I know.
we're still figuring it out because apparently we can't use Google Hangout on my end, at least. But whatever.
It's okay.
I digress.
Technology. What are we going to do about it?
Fair enough.
So, people may or may not know you from your channel. It's when did you start your channel?
I started it 2, maybe 3 months ago.
Okay. I remember that I first saw it when you were type policed. And he didn't believe that you were an ISTJ.
Well, I do now. I actually came around. It just took me some time to mull it over, you know?
What made you, or what made you hesitate that you were an ISTJ?
Well, I mean, if you watch the Type Police video, I actually am claiming to be one. He doesn't actually arrest me. He lets me go.
He didn't believe you. Oh.
No, in that video I said I am an ISTJ, and he believes it.
Oh, okay.
And it goes well, and it's whatever. But then afterwards, I was upset because he believed me.
You were like, I could have been thinking.
Here's what happened. No. What happened was, I think he said ISTJs shouldn't go to college, and then I got really sad about it. So then I was in a butthurt rage, and I may or may not have been drinking or something, and I decided to shoot a video, and I'm kind of embarrassed about it now, but that's how it went down.
So what was your video about?
Which one? The one where I was reacting to his type police? It was just me venting. It wasn't about anything. I didn't make any points in that video. I actually got rid of it because I just felt like it was just such a mess. And I didn't like how I represented myself. So I was like, I think this one I'm gonna scrap. And besides, I like talking with famous people and host Derek, so I'd rather be friends with him and not enemies.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. I think he's sometimes he's a little full of himself, but I guess that happens. We all can be full of ourselves.
He actually just mentioned me in his most recent video. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw your name in the title. I didn't watch it yet because I was out, so I didn't have time to watch it yet.
Yeah, fair enough. So is there any questions you wanted to ask me right off the bat?
Yeah, so the first question I wanted to ask was, how did you even find out what your type was?
I mean, I think I just went through, I've been watching this stuff for 6 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I mean, originally I just watched it for entertainment. I wasn't really into, a lot of people they say they're into self-development. I'm not going to bullshit you guys. I just watched this stuff for entertainment for the first, several years. And, like everyone else, I probably wanted to be one of the special types or whatever, like an INFP or an INFJ or something. But I just sort of realized that was wishful thinking. And I just came to the conclusion. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be honest with myself. And I really thought about it. And I was like, I think I'm an ISTJ, mainly because of most definitions of introverted sensing match what I do. And I'm like, yeah, it's either ISTJ or ISFJ. I went with ISTJ because I don't think my extroverted feeling's that good. So I was like, this makes the most sense.
Right. So what do you mean when you say that you don't think that your extroverted feeling is that good?
I just mean it's so-so, I can be awkward in social scenarios. I get a lot of social anxiety. So, I would imagine that somebody using extroverted feeling as a second slot function would be much more comfortable in social situations. So I was like, I mean, if someone wanted to argue I'm ISFJ, I'd understand if they think that my FE is good enough. But I think either way, I think introverted sensing as a first slot function it's pretty undeniable in my mind. Although I had somebody argue. Sorry, go ahead.
No, finish.
I was gonna say I've had a bunch of people accuse me of being a bunch of different types, so it gets funny sometimes. I get someone saying I'm one type every other day, so it's always fun to read.
I think it's so funny how people like just think that they know exactly what they're doing with typing and they come up with like the craziest ideas for what kind of type people are. And I'm just like, what evidence do you have to like prove that you think that this person is that type? It doesn't make any sense how you came to that conclusion.
They seem to go mostly off of like my facial expressions. I guess they think that I'm too expressive, which I don't know. Maybe there's some merit to that claim, but I don't know if ISTJs are all just like these like dead faced like I don't know. Well, what do they usually call ISTJs? Like the mechanic or something? I don't know what the nickname is.
Oh, what is it? Like
The duty fulfiller.
duty fulfiller, yeah. That's such like a depressing name to get unless like you want to be what's his name? Stark from uh Game of Thrones. What's the name? Eddard Stark or whatever.
Oh yeah, the I guess he's supposed to be an ISTJ, the poster boy for ISTJ.
He's like a stereotype ISTJ, like almost too much.
He's the one who's always talking about like honor and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
He's all about his honor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So did you
To be honest, I feel like INFPs would be more that way,
what makes you say that?
but INFPs would be more that way.
Mhm.
I think because they're more in touch with their introverted feeling because it is their dominant function. I think as an ISTJ, having it in the third slot, I think we value it, but I think well, I guess that character is older, so he would have maybe over time gotten closer to his introverted feeling. But I think when we're young, we know how we feel, but we just don't know how much we want to live our life according to that.
Hmm. Do you want to like delve further into that? Like what do you mean by that?
I guess I mean, we're going to use our extroverted thinking before our introverted feeling. So we're going to tend to maybe go with what we think is practical and realistic as opposed to our wishful thinking. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think it's part of us becoming healthier to use more FI. And I'd say as I've gotten older, I value it more and more. I probably at this point value it more than anything is my emotions. And that's another thing I wanted to go into. There's this stereotype that ISTJs are very emotionally closed off, and I'm very upfront about that. Like I'm very sensitive and emotional, so I mean i I could be that I'm not an ISTJ, but I'm at least very in touch with them, and I'm very open to expressing that and telling people how I feel about things, and I make a lot of arbitrary decisions based just on how I feel.
Yeah, no, actually, I have a friend who's also an ISTJ, and he's very much the same. I don't know if he knows like the nomenclature, like he's not as into personality, but he's really similar in that same way, like where like he's very easily swayed by like his emotions more so than he probably wants to be, but he likes being in touch with them, and like he's actually pretty like firm about like these beliefs that he has that are contrary to what societal norms are. Like he was with like this black chick and he's a white guy, and he feels like very passionate about like the what do you call it, like the social inequality between black and white people, even though like he doesn't like that girl, like he still feels like connected to that ideal because he's been in that situation.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, I think FI is the one thing where if you feel like you've been through, I guess, a similar situation as someone else, you can't help but want to, I guess, stand up for them. If you can relate in any way. I don't know about you. I know your FI is probably stronger than mine, I would assume, as an ENFP. But if you relate to someone in any way, it's hard not to want to, stand up for whatever cause that they're what's it called? Running out of words. I'm an ISTJ. I
No,
don't know how to
actually, Megan Lavoda and her friend, the ENFP Crystal, I think is her name, they just did a video this yesterday, and they were talking about how FI is like building a bridge between two people. If you can like relate to what the other person's been through, then you like more likely are going to like catch on to that cause, whatever that cause might be, which it might be as simple as like they feel bad because they got the rotten apple, and like now you feel bad that they got the rotten apple, so you want to like go out of your way to give them a nice apple because you know like how it feels now because you've seen that person with the. That's a terrible analogy, but I hope it's.
That's fine. I find what impresses me with ENFPs such as yourself is when it comes to causes, you guys actually go out in the world and do something. Whereas I find as an ISTJ, I'm almost too selfish or contained within my own world to want to go out and expend energy helping other people, or I'm too lazy to, or I don't really know how much I buy it. It's complicated. Although where I notice, I guess, standing up for other people or causes would probably be in high school. I guess if I saw a kid who was being bullied, I'd probably relate to that in some way because it happened to me at some point. So I'd want to stand up for them. So that would be like an example of I think an FI sort of decision on my part, or acting according to FI. But I don't. I mean, I find a lot of ENFPs. You guys tend to be a part of a lot of causes and really be hands-on about it. I don't know about you for yourself if you're into any of that kind of stuff, but
Yeah, I probably put too much energy into that. Like, I get very easily pulled into those kind of situations where I am standing up for causes. And I actually struggle like prioritizing which causes are more important. I just go with the one that's like the most important at this moment right now. So I can like lose sight of the bigger picture sometimes when I get too involved with causes, actually.
Yeah, I'm like the opposite. As soon as like somebody's asking me to sign up for something, before I've even heard their story, I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it.
So why can you delve into further like why that is?
I think a lot of it's just if something comes out of left field that we're not expecting, we're not gonna jump on it right away. It's gonna have to like fester in our minds for a while before we decide, okay, this is something that is worth spending time on. We're gonna jump on, or we basically have to get comfortable with the idea. That's sort of I think it's an SI thing. I find NE DOMs as well as SE DOMs are much more capable at jumping into things and comfortable, like things coming out of left field and still just adjusting accordingly. Whereas
Right.
for us, it's like it just everything takes more time. Everything's much slower. We're very slow people. We're like turtles.
I kind of relate both SI and NI as being like, for lack of a better word, like a mulling function. Like they mull things over a really long time. Like an NI DOM is
Yeah.
going to mull over like big picture, like what's going on in the world, like how's this situation going to play out, and SI would be more, and this is my interpretation, more like mulling over things that have happened in their life and how they can learn from the things that have happened, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It takes me, yeah, it takes me a while to get used to. If I'm gonna start doing something, it's something that I've been thinking about for weeks. Basically, it's very rare that something comes up and I'm ready to jump on it immediately. Like if I start going to the gym, or if I join some sort of team, or I start doing, let's say, theater class or something, it's probably something I've thought about for an extended period of time before I actually pulled the trigger.
Yeah, so that actually, I just had a question and now it's like evading me. Oh, um, in terms of like the SI, I kind of wanted to go back to this because you made a comment about tasting chips in one of your videos, and actually, like what you said, I really related to, and it's actually a thought I've also had. Do you want to like kind of summarize that for us? What you said in that video?
It's like basically anytime I have like a physical experience, I I can you can sort of feel it in your bones almost because you've experienced something like that similar in the past, and it just reminds you of that. And there's like a spider web effect. I would imagine that's the loop between SI and NE. That's probably why we relate, because there's sort of a they're just opposite ends of the same sort of thing. If that makes any sense. So it's like if I eat something or touch something or smell something or hear something, if it's familiar, it's going to remind me of something else. And there's also emotions that can be attached to this. You'll notice that INFPs and ISTJs, we can be very nostalgic. That's something I actually relate to with INFPs, is we can be very nostalgic about things because not only do we remember the physicality of something, but we also remember the emotions that might be attached to that. Or, if we taste something, it reminds us of something in the past, we'll probably remember also where we were psychologically when that happened.
Ooh, interesting. Because I think mine's a little bit more removed than that. Probably because it's in the fourth slot, but like something that I've recently realized is like I don't taste food, I taste memories. And like whenever I eat something, like I was eating like cheese crackers, like just the crackers with that like powdery cheese in between. You know what I'm talking about? Like we used to
Those
have
are
them all the time when we're kids. Like
those are
I could taste,
disgusting.
I know they are like I could taste the plastic, which I'm like tasting all the foods that have ever had that flavor in it, but I'm also tasting the crackers and like tasting the memory of like every time I've had those crackers. But for I don't know, maybe this might be where we're different. It's not like specific memories per se, unless it's something that I really care about, like something that I've put time into. Then I'll remember specific memories, but otherwise, it's just like impressions of memories.
Right, right. I can understand that. Something I notice, I think, with probably SI, any people, whether you're an STJ or an NFP, um, it's almost like, how can I put it? It's like extroverted sensors are actually experiencing what's right in front of them in real time. Whereas I feel like for both probably ENFPs and ISTJs, it's like I don't want to say we're detached from the real world, but we're more into the impressions of things rather than what it actually is. So we're feeling a piece of paper. It's like we're not really feeling, at least in my mind, not really feeling that piece of paper in the moment. It's almost like we're feeling other pieces of paper that we felt in the past.
No, I think that's actually really onto something. I really agree that like I at least maybe because it's like any, but I really feel detached from like the physicality of what's going on around me. Like I'm almost completely unaware. Um, and it's always like in retrospect that I realize things. And it's only like when I have time to sit down and like think about things that I actually realize what I honestly went through at the time. Like it might affect me if it's like, you know, impactful enough. But even like while I'm talking, I'm thinking about, like, for example, we're talking right now and I'm thinking about like what I was thinking about a couple hours ago, making out the questions and then thinking about like videos that you've done and how they all connect to what we're talking about right now. So even like right now while we're talking, I wouldn't say that I'm like fully in the moment. One of my best friends, her younger sister is an ISTJ, and well, of course she's really good at school. Like she just like loves to spend time like doing all her schoolwork. She's like actually kind of stereotypical in the fact that she like really loves to keep her room clean and keep all her books organized in a very specific way, and is kind of like a little bit on the OCD side. However, something that's really cool about her is she's like really involved in sports, theater, and music. So she really loves acting and she really loves performing music, which is something that a lot of people would be like, what, an ISTJ? And I just think there's like a huge misconception that ISTJs can't be interested in creative outlets or can't be creative. I don't know, probably because they just see like the SI and are like, oh, how could this person possibly be creative? But it's just like SI doesn't have, I mean, the functions don't have anything to do with creativity, I don't think.
Well, I would disagree slightly. I think they do have something to do, but at the same time, I think if you like, I think some things are worth doing just because they're hard.
Hmm.
To be honest with you, like I don't necessarily find. Well, sometimes I find the creative process easy, but other times I find it harder. Either way, though, I find it to be a worthwhile experience to do, even if it doesn't always come naturally. Although lately, in my writings and my videos, it's been coming out pretty easily. So I I would agree with you in that people often misunderstand IS or what's it called, underestimate ISTJs and maybe what they're capable of.
Right. And what do you think about the stereotypes for your type? I know you kind of mentioned it briefly. You said you don't think that they're all bad. Like, what do you think about the stereotypes overall? Are there any that you really think match you? Or are there any that you really think don't match you at all?
Uh, I mean, I think they're accurate in the sense that we can be very routine. Uh, we can be rather nervous to try things we haven't done before. I don't think any of those things are inaccurate. I just think the idea that we're sort of bound to a fate of, I guess, a mediocre life because we have some of these limitations and we can't ever grow past them. I don't agree with that, and I think like any human being, it's there's nothing. I think there's a lot of good life experience that can be gained from trying to overcome some of your limitations.
So, on that subject, what do you think are your strengths and what do you think are your weaknesses?
Mm, I don't know, to be honest with you. I haven't thought too much about what are my strengths. I guess I get a lot of things, a lot of people saying I'm funny or that they find me entertaining in my videos. So I suppose that's a strength. Whether you want to take, I don't know if you want to take my fans too serious or not, but apparently they like me, so that's a good sign, right? I get a few hundred views on some of my videos, so it seems like some people like hearing me talk. So it appears that I'm pretty entertaining for an ISTJ. So I guess you could say I'm entertaining enough that people stick around. Around long enough to finish the video. But as far as strengths go, I don't know. I would say the second. I would say when I have experience at something, I can be very decisive. So if it's something I've done before, I can be very decisive and make quick decisions. Doesn't come. It's not usually the first time I do something, but like the second time around, I can be very decisive. So it's kind of cheating a little bit. I'm not really saying I'm decisive, but kind of decisive.
Right. Like if you have experience with something, you can, based off your previous experience, know how you want to decide in the moment based off what you've done in the past, basically.
Yeah. And we remember everything. So if we have an experience with something that didn't go quite the way we wanted it to, that's gonna stay inside of us and fester for a while, and we're gonna be ready the second time around.
Hmm. So, would you say that like school was something you were pretty good at, like learning like history and science and like learning all the facts and everything?
I wouldn't say learning the facts. I always did well in English literature classes and history classes because I did well when we got to write essays or make arguments or things like that. I never really liked classes where it was just memorizing facts because I always found that kind of boring. And I much prefer, at least at the university level, doing exams where it's writing an essay as opposed to just memorizing a bunch of details.
That's something I can definitely relate to. I feel like I also have a really good memory, but I have to find interest in what I'm learning about. Like if I'm interested in it, I'll probably remember, and if it's not something I like or if I'm bored by it, I probably won't remember.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like for an ISTJ, if it's something I don't care about, I probably won't remember it, which I run into difficulties at school. And that's another stereotype with ISTJs I don't agree with because supposedly we're supposed to be the best students and we're supposed to study really hard and stuff. I, if I'm being perfectly honest, like I leave a lot of stuff just to like for the night before kind of thing.
Was studying even something that you really did in school or do?
Not really. I kind of just like write most of my papers the night before, the morning of. But it's because in the past I've gotten away with it, so I know I can. So it's still sort of
Right?
an SI thing because I've done it. It took a while before I was sort of brave enough to try that, but once I did, I never went back.
That's funny. I actually can relate to that too. I was never one for studying, but I always got pretty good grades because it goes back to that, like, if I'm interested, I'll remember it. Like, and if I'm not interested, I'm not going to do as well. Like, the classes that I always did worse in were generally like biology. Like, biology was like my least favorite science class because at least at like the intermediate or beginner level, biology is just straight like memorization of terms, and that's just like not something I'm good at. Like I don't want to memorize the terms, I want to like apply the knowledge.
Yeah, I would get bored real quick doing something like that. I learn much better on my own schedule as opposed to like on a teacher's schedule.
Did that ever like cause issues at school?
Uh, yeah, I mean, one example. Well, so I'm an English lit major. So primarily what I do is we learn, let's say Shakespeare or something, and then you write an essay on it. But when it comes to creative writing, I don't really like taking creative writing courses because I don't like being taught how to be creative or sort of having to follow someone else's, I guess, algorithm on how to write a story. I'd rather just write it on my own with my own ideas. And I guess you could say I've avoided some classes that may or may not have been maybe a good learning experience because I didn't want to have to follow the teacher's, I guess, agenda.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I took a creative English class in school, and I actually did really terribly at it because all the assignments were like the teacher's looking for something super specific, and I wanted to like just do my own thing, and I couldn't like figure out how to like match what I wanted to do with the grading system that they had. Like, I didn't know how to combine the two.
Right, right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, university is a weird place because they've got very strict rules and ideas on how to do things. And I kind of feel like I feel that way with essays as well. Like, I used to be very structured in how I wrote my essays. Like, I would do basically what they told me to do, like a good ISTJ. But as I've gotten more experience, I kind of just start winging it. To be honest, I just write the way I feel like writing, and I do pretty well. I rarely, I'd never get less than a B plus on most papers.
So, the way that, like, when you talk about the way that you're like supposed to do an essay, are you talking about that basic structure of like essentially 5 paragraphs? So of course, like, it can be spread out where your like introduction introduces your points in order, and then you go through each of the points in paragraphs in order, and then conclude it all or whatever.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. I just wing it now. I don't even like. Sometimes I don't even put my thesis at the end of my first paragraph. Sometimes I'll have it in like my second paragraph or my third. I just mess around now, and I still do pretty well. Some professors get frustrated, but I'm usually friends with the professor, so that helps.
Now, do you think that's a stereotype that ISTJs are teachers' pets?
Are you freezing?
Oh no, you were freezing.
Sorry, I think. Oh, sorry. What did you say? I didn't hear much of that.
That's okay. I just asked. Do you think it's fair to say that ISTJs are likely to become a teacher's pet?
I'm more of a teacher's friend than a teacher's pet.
Well, you know how people are going to look at it from the
outside. Maybe when I was in like elementary school, I might have been, but then again, I don't know. I don't know if I fit that description very well, but I'm sure some ISTJs do. They probably just want to stay out of trouble. Although in high school I got suspended quite a few times, so I don't know if that quite fits my story. But
what'd you get?
That's another case. I mean, one occasion was for like slapping somebody, but
they did get slapped.
they took my shoes. They were just trying to mess with me, and I just wasn't happy about it. We ended up being like really good friends, though. So.
Oh, that's like a classic like young adult story, like.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not really a mean guy. It's just I don't like getting pushed around. Probably because when I was younger, I did. Like when I was like in elementary school. So then when I was in high school, I kind of had a chip on my shoulder, maybe.
Mm.
I just want to be taken. I just didn't want to be taken advantage of. I wouldn't say that I'm like a mean person, though. So I say that's just that's my claim to the world. You guys can judge for yourselves.
This is kind of. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Sorry. I actually don't want to go ahead because you were asking me what else I got suspended for, and if you're gonna let me slide, I won't get into the other stuff. But we can move on.
Okay. I figured you probably didn't want to go into detail about all of them. So what are like some of your hobbies? I know you said you like to write, but what other kind of hobbies do you have?
Well, when I was in high school, I really liked theater. I mean, it's not really a hobby when you're just doing it all the time because I was in the program or whatever. I do it a lot less now that I'm in university because I was focusing on my major, which is English. But right now I'm in an introduction theater course, and which is easy for me because I've done all that stuff before. We're just like writing monologues and doing those, and it's nothing really too hard because I've done things like plays and stuff, so it's pretty easy. But I'd say as far as hobbies go, I genuinely just I enjoy writing. I wouldn't say like a typical ISTJ. I don't have that many hobbies.
So we were talking about your hobbies, and you were talking about you like to do theater, but you don't do it as much now since you're doing English literature. And then you said you also really like writing, and then that's kind of where everything started going crazy.
Yeah, I was just basically saying that I don't have that many hobbies. Writing's a big one. Um, but I don't have like a ton of different things I do on the side. I was doing because I wrestled in high school. I was doing like Brazilian jiu-jitsu for a while. I haven't done that in a long time, but I do like exercising a little bit. I like working out. Sort of a censored type hobby, I suppose, but uh I'm into that a little bit as well.
There was this ESTJ that I used to work with. He and I could not have a conversation about anything at all because I asked him what his hobbies were, and he's like, working out was his number one hobby, and then playing video games, and none of the games that he liked were games that I liked, and that was his only two hobbies.
Oh.
And I was like, oh.
Yeah, I haven't been into video games for a long time, but I used to play them a lot when I was in high school. I just I just find with university and stuff, like when I do have off time, like I'd either rather be with friends or just like browsing the internet. But whatever. Hey, I meant to ask you. I was talking about you as an ENFP having being neurotic because you have expert intuition, and then of course, the internet started screwing up again. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. Are you neurotic?
I definitely would say that I am. And basically, like, I remember a lot more when I was younger, but it definitely still does happen. It actually can cause fights sometimes because I like blow something up out of proportion in my mind, and then like in reality, like there's no problem. I'm just like finding a problem out of nothing. But when I was younger, I used to like imagine whole conversations and all the different ways that they could go. Um, and then, like, when it came to actually having the conversation, I would be too nervous to have the conversation, or it would go completely unlike anything that I had planned for, and I'd have to, like, just answer in the moment anyway, and then it was, like, nothing I could have prepared for.
Right. I have a little pet theory that introverted sensing dominance, like ISTJs, ISFJs, I have a theory that our NE is at our best when we're worrying about something. That's why there's like a stereotype of the ISFJ mother like worrying about her kids, and she's thinking about all these horrible scenarios that could go wrong, and it's all nonsense. But I feel like that's when our NE is at its best, is like when we're worrying about something. Then all of a sudden, I guess that's why they call it the grip, when you're in the grip of your fourth function. I don't know if you believe that theory, but that kind of makes sense to me. I feel like that's when it really comes to life.
I would agree with that, and I would say, like, I feel the same, but with my SI. Like, my SI is never better than when I'm upset, and I can remember exactly every single situation that ever happened that's related to the situation that I'm in now, and, like, how everything proves the feeling that I'm having at that moment.
Right. Do you find that when you're upset, your SI fires up and then you like binge eat or something?
No, I
Do
actually
you eat like a tub of ice cream or something?
no, I actually angry clean.
Oh, you angry? That makes a little more sense. I guess
When
that'd be more like an I. Go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead.
I guess the binge eating would be more like an INFJ thing. I would imagine an INFJ, if they were in the grip, they'd like do a bunch of like extroverted sensing stuff, or I don't know. They'd
Yeah,
go
like
skateboarding.
doing something dangerous or drinking or something probably.
Maybe.
But yeah, I angry clean. I especially like scrubbing the bathtub when I'm angry because it puts
Really?
a lot of effort into it. Yeah.
Oh my god. Scrubbing the bathtub. I'm actually terrible. Like for an ISTJ, I'm terribly untidy. Like my room's a mess. I mean, you can't really tell here. I don't really want to show you guys, but like just my desk, like there's papers everywhere. I've never been organized. So that's a stereotype that I don't know if is true or not. I could tell you. Hold on. I'll give you a story because I'm an ISTJ. Uh, so when I was in grade 3, my desk was so messy that my teacher picked up the desk in front of everyone and dumped it on the floor. He was like, Curtis, he's like, this is a mess. She's picked it up just in front of everyone, pours it all on the ground. It was actually funny. Like, I thought it was funny at the time, but it's pretty awful.
That is pretty terrible. I'm just like, dang, that sounds like traumatizing a little bit.
It was kind of, but I mean, it was grade 3, so I don't know. I mean, I guess I kind of cared. It was bizarre. It was bizarre, if nothing else, because she was a really old lady, and I guess I was surprised that she had the strength to pick up that desk because it was really full.
Oh, that's funny. So something that I think you said in one of your videos is like you don't need to clean or organize because you're already organized, like you know where everything is. Is that right?
Yeah, I tend to think that NTJs probably organize because they can't remember things. Like, I find that with ENTJs especially, it's like everything needs to be labeled because they just don't remember stuff. Whereas I think ISTJs, because we remember so many different things, I don't think we actually need to be physically organized because it's already in our head.
So like when you're saying that you remember a lot of things, is it like, so I was gonna use like your computer as like an example. Like, do you like keep your files really organized, or do you just like know where your file is and don't really worry about it?
Oh my god. Like, my files for like school assignments is just like a disaster. It's not organized at all. It's just like a trash heap. I don't like it's a disaster. Yeah, there's nothing organized on my computer.
That's
But then again, I'm not very like tech. I'm not, even though I'm only like 22. I'm not very good with technology, to be quite honest, because I just don't bother learning it, which is why we had.
Can't use a computer. What? No.
Yeah, but no, I'm not organized at all. Like, this is just not the case. I probably should get more organized because it would make my life a lot easier, but I just can't bring myself to do it. I mean, I'm sure I could. I noticed, you know what? I noticed I've seen some of your videos where you're talking about writing, and you use your third slot TE very well in the way that you regiment how much writing you're going to get done in a specific block, and I kind of admired that. I would guess that that's third slot TE hidden agenda on your part, but I kind of admire that because I guess I have aspirations to be more structured in that way, even though I'm the ISTJ here, so it's kind of backwards. But like, I think that's interesting because I've tried to do that as well.
Yeah, if I don't organize and I don't like set out time, I'll be too easily distracted by something else to do. So I have to like, if I don't put a timer while I'm writing, then I'll pull up something else midway through. I'll be like writing for 5 minutes. I'm like, I wonder what's going on YouTube, and or like, let me check my phone. And like, unless I set a timer, like I just get too easily distracted. So I've like had to learn to regiment my time a little bit more, and I have to do the same thing at work. Because I do the exact same thing. I'll like get too easily distracted by the little things to do that I forget like the bigger projects that I'm working on.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I do a little bit of time regimenting, like if I'm writing an essay. So if I'm writing an essay, which is usually the night before, because that's how I roll apparently, I'll sort of go where like, okay, Curtis, you have to get a page done every hour, and so I'll try to get the page done within 30 minutes, and I'm like, okay, you get the next 30 minutes to screw around on YouTube, and then you have to start the next page. And I'll sort of make little deals with myself like that.
Yeah, I think deals with yourself is like a very good way of like actually accomplishing something. If you give yourself a reward for doing something faster than you plan on doing it, that's actually, I think, a really good way to manage your time.
That's funny you say that because I'm not really religious at all, but I'll pretend I'm religious if I'm trying to force myself to do something. So like, I might not believe in God, but like, I'll pretend I do. I'll be like, okay, if there's somebody up there, Zeus, God, or whoever, like, punish me if I don't do this thing. Like, do something horrible to me. So I don't know if he's there, but if he is, he's gonna mess me up if I don't do what I'm supposed to do. So I'll make little weird promises like that to myself.
Have you ever been smited or?
No, because I'm like afraid. I'm like, maybe he does exist. Maybe he's gonna kick my butt. I don't know. I can't be sure.
Right? It's all going to come out one day, and then you're going to have this list of all the things that you failed to do. He's going to smite you for all of them all at once.
Oh, I'm screwed. If there's an afterlife, like I am so screwed.
Um,
He'd be like, why do you do this? He's like, you're just an asshole.
right? You're just using religion. You're not actually believing.
Yeah, I'm the worst when it comes to that.